Hello, hello, what is up? What is good? We got a new chapter of One Piece to check out right now. I am very, very excited. We are heading into what might be the climax of the Elbaf arc. Certainly, the title here, Waking from a Nightmare, seems to suggest some sort of resolution to this insane nightmare scenario with the Holy Knights. As I said, I don't think this is going to be the battle where they defeat Emu outright, obviously. So I think it's going to be kind of a hasty tactical retreat from the Holy Knights that we will probably maybe even see within this chapter. I don't think it makes much sense to have a prolonged battle where we see like the limits of Needhugger and Luffy and Gear 5's abilities. I think, that's something that's got to be saved for a later battle. Moreover, we don't want to see too much of Emu's powers either. We've already just seen glimpses here and there. It's very protected, like we haven't really seen a limit to that yet. So I think this is going to wrap up quicker than not, and it'll probably be more around awakening Gunko's latent memories with Brook and stuff, rather than an outright head-to-head clash. But I don't think this will be the end of the Elbaf arc. I think this is just the end of this crisis. And I still believe that there will be an entire other act in Elbaf, okay? I don't think we're gonna hit the seas again right after this. There's still so many mysteries happening on this island. I am still an astral world truther. There's 3 worlds in Elbaf. We have only seen 2 of them. And I am also a giant sword truther. There's a big fucking sword implanted into the island. I don't think Oda just drew that for fun. I don't think Oda just drew that because it looks hard, even though it does look extremely tough. I think that is going to be something that they discuss and analyze and will lead into whatever happens next. The Astral Lair, the big sword, the idea of Loki coming with them. My current theory is that Loki will indeed join the crew. At first, I thought that they were going to get their 3rd ship this arc, because the Jewel Tree Atom is right there. But I think if they were going to do that, they would have seeded a lot more ideas of losing Sunny being in jeopardy, like they did with the Going Merry back in Water 7. So now I'm less convinced of that. Now I think it might be like that owl that can make things gigantic will make the Sunny gigantic. Something like that. I just think that by the end of the series, the Sunny should be big. that's something I've become convinced of. And I do think Loki will join the crew. I am still pretty convinced of that. Now, these are pretty bold claims. I think those are my 4 big bold claims. The Sunny will get huge. The Astral Lair will become plot relevant. The Giant Sword will become plot relevant. And Loki will join the crew. Those are my 4 remaining big predictions for Elbaf. So let's see. Let's dive right in. We got a fun covered story. Kid running away from a big bull. That's pretty fun. Okay. Luffy gets Brook, and Usopp away from Emu. Good, smart. I'll call if I need help, but for now you should keep your distance. Loki's gonna get pretty reckless. Look at them. It's just a lovable lad and his untrained dog. Some years ago, a ship of giants was spotted at sea. Their captain was especially gigantic. They shrouded themselves in deep mist, attacking only government assets were remaining unseen. It's obviously, Loki's revenge expedition that happened not too long before he was imprisoned on Elbaf. The same time as this, rumors spread far and wide of a massive flying creature. And so the dots connect. That was, of course, yeah. Okay. Luffy arrives. And Emu splurts out of Gunko's body. Very gross, very strange. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Okay, we knew this was coming at some point. This is Emu's go-to play. We saw it with Rocks. It worked on Rocks. Rocks is, of course, unfathomably powerful. So here we see it hit both Luffy and Loki. Ye shall hate one another. I don't think so. I don't know, I'm of two minds here. First, I'm kind of just like, well, I don't think that will work on Luffy. He's just so diametrically opposite. He's the other side of the Othello board. He's the white pieces, you know? Like, I think if anybody just has, like, a natural immunity to this kind of Emu magic. At the same time, it's like, if that was the case, probably Emu would know that and not even try. I do think it would make sense to have a little bit of a fight scene here between Luffy and Loki. From the very start of the arc, Luffy has been making all sorts of proclamations about how he could beat up Loki, and, oh, it's fine to release him because I'll just beat him up if he does anything bad, and all of these things that kind of foreshadow some sort of showdown between them. So it would also make sense to me that this leads them to fight each other at least for a bit. And that, of course, gives us a better sense of what exactly leads to the reversing of the Dami Reversi, the double Dami Reversi. Then we get to see demonic forms of Nidhogger and Gear 5 Luffy, which would be interesting. So I don't know. Let's turn the page and find out. Yeah, it just doesn't work. Okay. Dang, I convinced myself that it would be exciting. But yes, this makes sense. And as Emu says, as I suspected. I wonder, I don't know what it is she suspects. Loki frustrated because the target is so small, you can barely even see it. Loki de-dragonifying, re-equipping Ragnir. Awesome shot here, too, of Luffy punching the hell out of Emu. Of course, this is not the final battle, as I said, but a preview of probably one of the very final fights. I'm almost done with my One Piece reread, by the way. I want to put together a video of everything I think will happen from here on as we approach the endgame. Maybe this afternoon if I have a chance, but I'll finish my reread first. Okay. Loki encases the shard of Emu in ice, in a massive ice block. Luffy runs out of Gear 5 and becomes zombie old man Luffy that needs to eat meat. Unable to get in enough hits. Interesting phrasing here, that I wasn't able to get in enough hits. It's like some part of him knows it's working, even though Emu's regenerative ability is like off the charts, and he's seen that before. He's like still convinced there is a way to punch through it. Okay, meanwhile, fire and brimstone rains upon all over Elbaf. They managed to destroy all of the sleep-tid monsters, but, you know, the tree is on fire everywhere. They're emphasizing here, they're still pissed off at Loki. Even though they understand the truth now, that he did not kill Harold, they still think of him as just this walking natural disaster. And it's true. All through his childhood, in retaliation of his mother, randomly just earlier when he was partially unfreed and he was trying to free himself the rest of the way and started wailing away on the tree, he is still a bit of a walking atomic bomb. So I think this again to me suggests that he's going to end up joining the crew and leaving. It's not like they will just happily welcome him as a king after. Maybe Hadrudin will be the king. I don't know if that makes sense either, really, thematically, and plus he's the captain of the new pirates crew. But they could also just remain, with Ja Rule in charge or whatever. Dorian Broggy kind of in charge. At any rate, everybody panicking, trying to resolve the situation. Here, after much off-screen fighting, they've managed to whittle down the demonic forces pretty extensively. Chopper able to just magically de-demonify them. Very unclear still what's happening here. I saw some people in the comments of the last chapter speculating that perhaps Chopper also has a fruit that is more than it seems, which wouldn't be insane because we've only seen a couple models of the human fruit outside of Chopper's. There's Sengoku's Buddha fruit, which is like a godlike enlightened being, and Luffy's Nika fruit, which is a godlike enlightened being. So people were wondering if Chopper was the forest god from the mural earlier, which makes reference to, or the Harley, I guess. The text of the Harley makes reference to a forest god. I don't know. I think that would be maybe a bit much. That two people in the crew happened to eat fruits that were more than they seemed in some way. But at the same time, there is definitely like a mystery that we're being told to consider here, right? Like there's definitely going to be some surprise at the heart of this. I don't think it's because Chopper is such a good doctor. So I don't know. There's something going on with Chopper more than we think. I also feel like with the introduction of Frankie's like super cola, we're heading into a feeling of like everybody's gonna get one last big power up before the final battles begin, like all of the Straw Hats. The way that Frankie got that power up felt very indicative of that to me, that like it's time to reevaluate ourselves one last time. I don't think it'll be like a major focus. I don't think it'll get like a ton of chapters devoted to it. But I think one by one, we're just going to see the characters unlock these new abilities and stuff. Zoro, of course, on the verge of a breakthrough, being able to use the Haki of the Supreme King and stuff. So I don't know. What will Chopper's be? Is it connected to slapping the demon out of people? Alright. No enemies with plenty of fire. No enemies with plenty of fire. They just gotta put out the big fire. And here we go back to the library. I have been very curious how much was saved at the library. I think this is good news. Yeah, the fire is definitely raging on inside here, but I don't see a single charred book. The shelves are all empty. I don't see Biblo the owl neither. Let's hope for the best. Biblo the owl, again, I said, could make Loki gigantic. Or sorry, could make... Loki's already gigantic. Could make the Sunny gigantic to accommodate Loki. But here it seems to suggest that maybe the owl can make things tiny too, which I guess makes sense. If it can make books big, it can make them small. And maybe shrank all of the books and move them before the fire started. Could possibly shrink Loki too, so he can come on the Sunny. That would be crazy, but I don't know. So we finally started back. It didn't take long. It's not like an all-out war against the whole organization. Knights from the Holy Land or not, there's only 3 of them. Anything, they're punching above their weight against Elbaf. So true. And they're remaining, keeping them separated like Buggy or like Law, I guess. A lot of dudes in One Piece that chop up. Oda really likes heads that are disembodied but still talking and stuff. Okay, Sommers also totally chopped up. Luffy wants food. And it looks like Emu is just fading away out of the ice block. So it looks like they actually kind of scored a big W here. Not just, oh, we convinced Gunko to be good again. I think that'll probably happen later. But they actually just kind of beat Emu on its own terms right now. And forced it to retreat, it looks like. Okay. And now we see, I had forgotten about this until I got here in the reread, that when the Holy Knights show up on Elbaf, they say, the Holy Land is on fire right now. Shamrock, you need to get home. And here, indeed, we can see that there is, like, rioting and destruction. Everything besides the Pangaea castle looks like burnt and chopped up and devastated. We don't know what's happened there yet. I imagine that will be what we see in the transition period after Elbaf. They seem to kind of like using that as an excuse to check in on the revolutionaries and check in on happenings in Marijois and stuff lately. So I think that's probably what happened there, but I don't think it'll get like totally off-screened. I think we will see a bunch more of the efforts to destroy Marijois like that. Meanwhile, in the Chamber of Flowers, the innermost sanctum, Emu decides to leave the Holy Land for a time. Interesting. Okay. That's it for this week. Crazy ass chapter, as always. I still have my 4 big bets. More than ever, I feel convinced that we will see a third act in Elbaf. Something to do with the Astral Lair, something to do with the Big Sword. But like I said, I have been scheming in my brain through my entire reread. What the hell is gonna happen at the end of One Piece? I've already made a big prediction on what I think the One Piece is, but now I kind of feel like I see the whole series laid out before me in more or less structured, ordered terms. So look forward to a video where we're gonna go through my theories, all of my bets on everything that'll happen from now until the end of the series, because it's coming. It still scarcely feels real to me. I've been reading One Piece since the year 2000-ish, 2002. Yeah, since 2002 I've been reading One Piece. So after 24 years of it being a constant presence in my life, it's like still totally unimaginable that it's gonna end. But it is going to end. There's a finite number of chapters left. I think I can account for a lot of them. So let's talk about that later. But for now, see ya. Bye-bye.